We're live. All right. Hey, everybody. Just waiting for people to get on. We figured we'd sign in 1 minute early so that the people that couldn't find us last time at 7 could find us. So, how's everybody doing today? It's a little bit of a crazy day over here, but we're happy to be here with you guys. Just waiting for 7 o'clock and to see a couple of people pop on. I know there's people coming tonight that are wanting to be here.
Oh.
How about this humidity, huh?
Try not to yawn.
Try not to yawn the whole time. I can't tell who that is, but hi, welcome. I don't know if it'll show me comments because of the way my phone is turned, but you can try to say hi if you want. But anyway, 7 o'clock, so I think we'll. Do you want to just start, or you want to wait give people another minute to get on?
Yeah, we could wait 1 more minute.
All right. We'll wait 1 more minute.
Sure.
I see somebody else just popped on. Hello. Hello, hello. I see Steve and Shireen. I can tell who that is. I can't tell who some of these other pictures are.
Yeah.
But
You need another phone so you can see who's who.
I know. So, how are we doing on time?
Pretty good.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, guys. It's nice to see you guys with us. And we're just going to continue what we started last week with the study of the word, I think you say it, anapao. And it's the word rest or restore. Is that correct?
Yeah, rest, regenerate.
Restore. I think we could all use a little bit of rest in this time where things are just a little bit crazy. So we just thought this would be an appropriate word. I think I see Nicole on there. Hi, Nicole. So I think we'll just pass it over to Richard and we'll just get started.
Okay. Yeah, so last week we looked at the word rest, and we saw that rest is not necessarily inaction, but sometimes action for God and reliance on Him, especially in a tumultuous world, right? Mm-hmm. But this week we're going to look at rest sort of, I guess, in a negative context, and it's going to be basically the danger of resting or taking ease when we should be alert. Mm. Okay, so the verse, we're going to read a couple of verses, but the verse that has the word in it that we're centered around today is in Matthew 26 and verse 45. And it says, "Then he came to his disciples," that would be Jesus, came to his disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting?" Okay, so let me just do the background because I'm not going to read every single verse. Hopefully you guys will read it on your own, whatever. But so this is the night that Jesus is going to be betrayed and brought before all of the political leaders and then eventually crucified. And they had just come from where they were having the Passover, and they've gone into the Garden of Gethsemane. And now the Lord Jesus is very sorrowful. He's very heavy because of what's happening, what's going to be coming. And so he is praying in the garden. And he takes his disciples with him, and then he takes 3 of them specifically, Peter, James, and John, a little bit further with him. And then he asks them to pray with him. And so I'm just going to read a couple of these verses. There's 3 statements that he makes, and then we'll think about this. So in verse 38 it says, "Then he said to them, 'My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death. Stay here and watch with me.'" Right. So then he goes off and he prays, and then he comes back, and in verse 40 he came to his disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, "What? Could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, lest ye enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Right? And then he goes off and prays again. And he comes back, he finds them sleeping, he goes off and prays. And then he comes back for the last time, and then that's when verse 45, which I read, that he comes to his disciples and says to him, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand. Okay? So, I want to kind of focus in a little bit on Peter, because the second verse that I read there, the center statement, specifically says that he says it to Peter. And, Peter kind of gets a bad rap because he usually is the first one to speak, but he's also usually the first one to open mouth, insert foot, And so earlier, when Jesus had tried to tell the disciples that he was going to be betrayed and that they were all going to be, stumbled. He says, stumbled because of me this night. And of course, Peter's the first one to pipe up, and he says, not me, Lord, I'll die for you. And sure enough, later on, right after this, when all the group of people come to arrest Jesus, sure enough, there's Peter. He's got a sword, and he's trying to slash people's heads off. And of course, the Lord Jesus says, no, Peter, put that away. That's not how this is going to work, But what's interesting is the Lord Jesus said to Peter, watch and pray lest you enter into temptation. And temptation can also be translated as a trial. And often a trial, generally is something that we go through that sort of, I guess you could say, proves our mettle. But sometimes, unfortunately, and in this case, a trial turned out to be something that he wasn't really ready for or wasn't equipped to handle, right? And Peter's trial didn't come when it was the group of men there, right? It came later on when he was by himself. And all he had to do was say, yes, I know Jesus, right? But he was afraid to do that. And so, I think maybe some of Peter's problem was from the fact that in the garden here, when he and the other disciples should have been watching and praying with the Lord Jesus and seeing what the Lord Jesus was about to enter into and understanding that, instead they were resting and sleeping, right? What does that mean for us? What can we take away for us, for practical, right? So, obviously, right, we need to be careful we're not resting at the wrong time, right? We need to be watching, right? Watch and pray, Jesus said. So watching, we need to be alert, awake, paying attention to what's happening. One of the things, they should have been watching the agony of the Lord Jesus, but instead they were resting. And they should have been seeing the Lord Jesus' heart in his prayers, but instead they were sleeping. So we need to watch and watch. We need to be awake. We need to be aware, and then pray, which is communion with God, right? And those two things together, and avoiding resting when we ought to be not resting, those can help us to avoid trial failure and be useful for God, right? So we want to, avoid, we have the story of Peter for our example so that we can avoid the mistakes that he made. And so, we want to be useful for God. We want to avoid failing in a trial that comes our way. And so, there is a time to rest, and then there's a time not to rest. Next week, we'll be looking at a proper time to rest. But this week, we're thinking about the time when we should not be resting, but when we should be in communion with God and preparing ourselves for those coming trials. So I hope that this has been a blessing, and Lord willing, we'll be seeing you next week for another one of these little videos.
I just really appreciate that, because there's a lot going on around us, and I think what I've been really encouraged about is that there's a lot of people who know the Lord too, who are in just turmoil about what's going on. And I think I've been really encouraged because I'm watching, but I'm seeing God doing what he said he was going to do. And I'm watching scriptures come alive and the things that are happening around us, and that gives me strength and encouragement. And so I think that this is really important to know God, to know His Word, to be in that communion, like you said, and to be ready to see, so that we're not all thrown off and not prepared for the trial. So
Yep.
thank you. I think that's really appropriate for right now. So anyway, thanks guys for coming, and we'll be back next week. Good to see you. Bye.
Bye.